lore, entities, theories, all of the inner workings of the backrooms. It's what this entire channel is known for. And while doing that, I have managed to go over every single level from 0 to 100 in order. And in this video here today, I will be bringing all those explanations into one easy to reach video for you all's convenience. You guys have been begging me for this video. Not only will you get to hear the level explanations from 0 to 100, you'll also get to see how my video quality has gotten way better over the years, because it kind of sucked at the beginning. You'll see how it is, but it kind of sucked. So without further yapping from me, sit back and relax, grab a snack, grab a drink, and get ready to hear Backrooms level 0 through 100's explanation. Even though technically it's 0 to 101, because you don't really count the 100th because it would be 99th. You know what I'm saying. Thank you all so much for getting me here. This video has been many years in the making, and I hope you really enjoy it. Level 0, aka the Tutorial Zone, is the first level in the Backrooms. It's classified as a Class 1, so it's safe and secure and has a minimal entity count, even though there are no known entities here. This level is the one that most people no-clip into as soon as they land in the Backrooms. You all know what the level looks like, and you probably heard it a million times, but it's Bergmas, and I'm gonna say it all again. Level 0 is a network of rooms that all have this famous Backrooms wallpaper. You know what it is? It's that yellow, dingy looking thing. It's nasty, really. The carpet here is damp, and it smells like it too, and there's this dingy fluorescent lighting all over that's flickering in some places, and it's also emitting this buzzing noise from the lights. The buzzing noise would already drive me to insanity. The buzzing on this level is much louder than normal fluorescent lights from real life, and it's unknown why it's so loud. It's almost like it's being loud just to be annoying. I mentioned it, but the carpet here is moist, and it's also unknown what liquid is making it moist, but what is known is that it's not safe to drink. Obviously, who's gonna be drinking carpet juice, bro? What? An important thing to remember when talking about level 0 is that the space there is non-linear. This means that you could walk in a quote-unquote straight line and end up right back where you started. And if you try to go back the way you came, you could end up in a completely different set of rooms. So this makes the level quite disorienting and confusing, especially since the people that are here just landed in, and couple that with the fact that compasses and GPSs don't work, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Also, radio communications are really disoriented and scrambled, so it makes it pointless to even try to connect with radios. Some people consider level 0 as the scariest level in the Backrooms because of the initial shock factor you get from being completely alone and in a literal alternate dimension, which I can see. Even though there's no entities here, it's still one of the most terrifying. An interesting fact is that even though level 0 is the main way to enter the Backrooms, there's never been any reports of wanderers interacting with each other in this level. And there's also been no corpses ever found here, but it's assumed that there's a ton of them, because there's no way every single person lives from this level. So let's say a group of people attempts to enter level 0 from a different level. If they do, they'll be split up, and they won't even be able to meet back up until they leave the level. So it's literally like the level puts you in solitary confinement on purpose. Obviously, this solitude and the weird non-linear structure makes people's minds play tricks on them. It's a given that hallucinations are common on this level, specifically the hallucination of doors or stairs or hearing humans talking, or you can hallucinate random movement in the corner of your eyes and your peripheral vision, and sometimes the humming of the lights can be so loud that you can hallucinate going deaf, or you can just hear random insects chittering. And yeah, couple all those hallucinations with being completely alone and isolated in a random space that seems endless, and you're my might go crazy. Like I said earlier, there are no known entities here, and you can't even run into another wanderer. So if you think you hear something, you don't. You're just going crazy. To enter level 0, you have to no-clip from the reality of Earth. Simple as that. To exit level 0, there are a few more ways. The main way is you can learn to no-clip through a wall or floor by practicing yourself. And this will put you on the next level, which is level 1. But there's also a slight chance that if you walk far enough in any direction, that you'll end up in a place called the Manila Room, which is a medium-sized square room that appears to have literally no relationship with the other levels. It seems completely random. This room has small wooden chairs inside, and it gives off just a weird vibe. But something good about the Manila Room is that wanderers can meet up here and they can actually see each other. Unlike in the main part of level 0 where you can't meet anybody. There's also documents from Meg that are available in the Manila Room that people can read up on, and it'll tell them how to survive the backrooms and how to travel from level to level. And most importantly, the papers will teach you how to no-clip. Thanks, Meg. So the explanation I just gave is for the newer, revised version of level 0 from the Wikidot. The first version of level 0 doesn't exist anymore, obviously, because it was archived. There are several key differences in the official version that we have now and the archive version, so I thought I'd go over some of the differences here. In the official version, there are just an infinite labyrinth of yellow rooms everywhere, with an endless length of hallways and segments, stuff like that. But in the archives version, there was a little bit more to it. Like there were electrical outlets on the wall, and there were surveillance cameras on the ceiling, and instead of it only being yellow walls, there were occasional red rooms that you could walk in, and occasional pitch black hallways you could walk in as well. But other than that, they were pretty much the same. They still had the flickering lights, the moist carpet, and the mostly yellow walls. The archive version also had several outposts and entities that are not in the official version, because if you remember what I just said a couple minutes ago, level 0 now has no entities and no outposts. And these outposts and entities are now moved to level 1, which is a pretty good change in my opinion. I think it makes it creepier, which you'll see those outposts in tomorrow's video, which will be on level 1. Ha! A cliffhanger. Get destroyed. Level 1 of the backrooms is considered a class 1 area because of these reasons that I always say, so I'm just going to show you. The level looks like a huge warehouse that has concrete floors and walls, and there's even like exposed rebar everywhere. Additionally, there's some fog that hangs really low to the ground on this level, and it comes from an unknown source. Nice. So the fog causes condensation to happen, which makes these puddles form on the ground. So unlike level 0, this level has a constant supply of water that you can actually drink, and electricity that doesn't make a humming noise. This makes level 1 a welcome sight for weary travelers. This level can get really expansive though. It's got staircases and elevators and secluded rooms and winding hallways all throughout, so try your best not to get lost. This level produces random crates with supplies that seem to appear and disappear at random. These crates can contain food and almond water, and sometimes they even have batteries, tarps, clothes, medical equipment, and weaponry. Nice. But sometimes the boxes have really dumb stuff, like random car parts or boxes of crayons, or even live mice. What? Some crates also have loose change or human hair, so that's nice, I guess. These crates should be approached with caution since what's inside of them is random, but you definitely should approach them just in case there's good stuff, obviously. A weird quirk about this level is that there are strange, crude drawings and paintings of an unknown origin that appear on the walls and floors of the level. They sometimes change how they look, and they sometimes also disappear when you're not looking at them. Just like level 0, sometimes level 1 can experience light flickering. When this happens, supplies often vanish when the lights flash off, and entities also spawn then. These creatures tend to avoid areas with lights, so just hang around a bright spot and you should be good. Also, since the objects disappear randomly, it's been found that if you actually hold on to the objects, then they don't disappear. They seem to only disappear when they're just laying by themselves. An area called the Hub is also located on level 1. It's a long tunnel that has doors to different levels on it. Most of the time there are wanderers here, and it's actually a pretty popular area. Level 1 is home to the first main Meg base, which if you remember from my level 0 explain video, used to be in the archived version of level 0, but it got moved to level 1. I think it's for the better. The base is named Base Alpha, and it houses about half of all of the Meg teams. They also take wanderers in as well. The base is located near an entrance to the level and is heavily guarded in order to ward off creatures, obviously. The next outpost is called the BNTG's Trader's Keep. The BNTG stands for Backrooms National Trade Group, which I've already made a video about them and Meg, so Links below if you want to check that out. The place is called Trader's Keep, and it's a city-like complex that has a semi-normal social infrastructure. There are about 415 people who live here constantly, and they keep a friendly relationship with Meg. And this place is one of the main supply hubs for wanderers in the entire backrooms, and it's a nice place to take refuge and experience some sort of normalcy. It's located in the storage hall section of level 1. The last outpost or place is called Tom's Diner. Again, if you remember my level 0 explain video from yesterday, Tom's Diner used to be on level 0, now it's here. The diner is run by Tom, obviously, who was a chef in real life before he no-clipped into the backrooms. He has plenty of food in storage, and he gets supplies from the BNTG every few months so he can stay stocked. Tom's Diner is a common place for social activities and a pretty fun time overall, and a lot of people use this area as like a rendezvous point. It's strangely wholesome, bro, not even gonna lie. There are a ton of ways to enter level 1, but the most obvious one is to come from level 0 by no-clipping. But if you're not a level 0, you could climb a tree on level 11.1, or you could complete the King's Trial on level 94, or sometimes there's just doors labeled level 1 scattered throughout the backrooms. You can walk through one of those doors and you'll end up here. Level 2 is the third level of the backrooms, and it's classified as a class 2 survival difficulty because it's pretty unsafe, honestly. And this is the last of the levels that you could be sent to when you first enter the backrooms. The majority of the people land in level 0, and some land in level 1. In some rare cases, you can land in level 2, and if you do, your luck is terrible. Like, you have the worst luck ever. Level 2's layout is pretty much an infinite labyrinth of low-light, concrete maintenance tunnels that go on for hundreds of thousands of miles. The walls in the hallway are all lined with pipes, and sometimes there are even air ducts in the ceiling and on the walls. And these air ducts typically have a thick black liquid that comes out of them, and it's unknown what this is. Scattered around these halls are random doors, and they're all over the place. Some of the doors are locked, and some of them are open, but the ones that are open mostly lead nowhere, except sometimes there's a rare exit. We'll talk about that later. These rooms that dead end normally have shelves with seemingly random objects on them, ranging from pieces of scrap metal to computers, which is weird. The hallways in this level are normally a pretty comfortable temperature until you get to some of the segments where it can get up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or 43 degrees Celsius. These hot areas are also where machine noises are really loud too, so just avoid them. The entities located on this level are honestly some of the worst ones possible. Crawlers crawl through the air vents, smilers hide in the shadows. There's also child facelings, clumps, hounds, death moths, skin stealers, and this guy. Gotcha. These creatures lurk in the hallways constantly, so it's probably best to just avoid them at all costs. Interestingly enough, there are a couple bases and outposts here, and the first one is called the Survivors, which consists of about 29 people who literally just explore this level. It's kind of lame, but whatever. The leader of this ragtag group is named Austin, and they're pretty friendly and they're willing to trade with wanderers, so I guess that's nice. This group was actually the first group ever to discover what wretches were, so thank you, I guess. The next outpost is called Office Space EL3A. This area is controlled by the BNTG, or the Backrooms National Trade Group, and it houses about 30 people, give or take a few. There's no information on what goes on there, so I can only assume Backrooms trading happens, since that's the name of the BNTG, I don't know. To enter level 2, you can wander around level 1 until you find the entrance, or you can access it from the hub, which is that huge tunnel from level 1 I talked about. And like I said earlier, level 2 can be accessed directly from reality, but it would definitely be the worst one out of the first 3 levels to land in, but it still might happen. To exit level 2, you can go through an unlocked door and it might lead somewhere to the next level, or sometimes back to level 1 even. The most common exit is this huge multicolored door that's somewhere on the level, and that leads to level 283. And if some reason you want to go to a sub-level, which is level 2.1, you can just no-clip through the floor or the wall in one of those extremely hot areas I was talking about, and it'll just stick you in the sub-level. I don't think I would do that, but whatever you want, man. So to summarize, level 2 is a huge expanse of maintenance tunnels with pipes on the walls and random locked or unlocked doors everywhere. There are a ton of dangerous entities here, and it can get really hot in some of the halls. This level to me is like the first real experience with entities you get, so be warned. Level 3 of the backrooms is classified as class 4, so it's unsafe and unsecure, and it has a medium entity count. This is actually the first real test for people who are new to the backrooms. Level 2 was kind of a warm-up level for this one, because level 3 consists of a ton of looping dark hallways that behave kind of like the ones from level 0, but not to the full extent. Each of the hallways juts off into random segmented rooms, and there's no pattern to this level whatsoever, it's all random. On top of the randomness of the hallways, there's also extremely loud machinery noises that echo through the halls, which could be disorienting, and personally, it would drive me insane. The hallways themselves are really skinny and short, and really skinny in some places, and sometimes people have to crawl through them, and if you're tall, you have to bend over like the entire time, but good thing I'm 5'10". The walls are made of dusty bricks, and there's copper pipes that run along them, and the floor is made of a hard gray tile. The ceilings are made out of metal, which makes the echo way worse. Interestingly, this level is actually one of the biggest levels in the backrooms. Its estimated size is around 350 million miles, which is massive. This means it's really unlikely to run into any wanderers here, so it's recommended that when you come here, you be prepared to fight entities alone, since you'll probably not meet any help. Something that makes this level unique is that sometimes there's these prison cell bars that cut off entire sections of hallways. Meg has tried to break past these bars to explore further, but they literally cannot break it. They've also tried to break the walls down that are around the bars, but they can't break those either. Areas with these prison bars have been recorded as the creepiest places in the entire level. Some wanderers say that there's a heightened sense of fear when you're around them. Some have even said that they get extreme discomfort by just approaching them. Most people get the feeling that they're being watched when they're near these prison bars, and some have claimed to see an unknown figure lurking behind the bars. Creepy. Just like yesterday's level, which is level 2, this level's halls have a black sludge liquid that flows through the pipes. This sludge is really toxic, and it can literally cause damage to your brain if you even breathe it in, and if you touch it, you'll get third-degree burns. So how about we just avoid the black sludge, huh? Meg still has no idea what the sludge is or why it flows through the pipes, so nice. Every once in a while on this level, there's a random electrical room with a single generator inside, as well as random electronics like computers or loose wires, and there's even security monitors here too. The rooms are rare though, and no one knows why they exist. As I said earlier, this level's pretty dangerous, but it's also really rewarding at the same time. The level has loads of almond water, false outlets, fire salt, royal rations, squirt guns, and many other resources too. There are tools and weapons like knives, lighters, and bolt cutters, and flashlights that are just laying around. On top of these resources, Level 3 is also a level with the strongest Wi-Fi signal in the entire backrooms, so you can get stocked up on food, weapons, and Wi-Fi. Sounds like a pretty nice level to me. As you can expect, all the machinery and these small enclosed spaces make this level pretty warm, but it's still bearable. The temperature ranges from 66 degrees to 93 degrees Fahrenheit, or 18 degrees to 33 degrees Celsius, for most of the level. But in some segments, temperatures of over 135 degrees have been recorded, so just avoid those. The machines on this level operate completely on their own, but they're also really dangerous sometimes because they'll just blow up and pieces of them will fly off and hit you. If you see one making too much noise, just don't go near it. Level 3 has tons of dangerous entities and creatures, and you're pretty much gonna have to fight off loads of them. There's hounds, facelings, wretches, death moths, skin stealers, clumps, and smilers lurking everywhere, specifically in the shadows. There are also sections infested with crawler fungus and the disease, which are both mold-like entities. The entities on this level behave more aggressively than on other levels, and they actively seek out to attack bases and outposts. Some smaller groups have trouble fending them off, but the big bases don't. Speaking of big bases, the Meg base Gamma is located here, and it's the third most important Meg base. There's around 300 people who live here, and they take wanderers in too, and they're open to trade. The base is attacked by entity hordes often, but since it's so big, they can pretty much defend themselves. The next outpost is called the BNTG Storage Facility. BNTG is Backrooms National Trade Group, for those who don't know, and this is the biggest trade center for the BNTG. The outpost will trade with you, but they're known for having insanely high rates, losers, and there's around 150 people that live here. The third outpost is called the Followers of Jerry Blue Salvation, and there are only 15 members here, and they typically just are here to collect the resources from this level. Jerry's that one bird I talked about a while back. This group is hostile for those who don't listen to what Jerry says, and this makes them an unpredictable threat. The Masked Maidens might also have a base here, but it's unconfirmed, and it's kind of just a rumor that exists. The last base here is called UEC Base Scylla. UEC stands for Unbound. This outpost has an unknown number of members, and it's just here to collect the resources, and it's said to avoid them at all costs because they're dangerous and unpredictable. To enter level 3, you can go through one of those unlocked doors on level 2, or you can take an elevator on level 4 or 5. The metro is also a pretty reliable way to get here. To exit level 3, take an elevator, which will take you to level 4 or 5, or you can open a random wooden door, which will take you to level 31. Nice. So to summarize, level 3 is a huge level of small hallways with brick walls, metal ceilings, and tile floors. There's machinery constantly making noise, and a black sludge that flows through the pipes that can literally kill you if you inhale it. There's also a ton of dangerous creatures here, but at the same time it's kind of worth coming here because of how rich this level is in resources. I rate this level about 7 out of 10 on the Brugly scale, because I come here just for all the stuff you can get. Level 4, aka the Abandoned Office, is classified as a Class 1 survival difficulty, and is safe, secure, and has minimal entities. Only 2. This level is mainly known for being the main source of almond water in the backrooms. Nice. It physically looks like an entire empty office building with stairwells and hallways and stuff like that, and it has pretty much no furniture. There are windows here, but they're mainly blacked out, and the ones that look normal, like there's light coming through them, are window traps. So don't go near them. Like I said earlier, there are only 2 entities that have been seen here, and those are hounds and dullars, but one person did claim they saw a smiler, so they might be here too. Due to there not being many entities here, and there's also an abundance of almond water, this means there's tons of people here, pretty much all the time. The almond water is in coolers, vending machines, and water fountains all over the level, and it never seems to run out. How convenient. Another convenient thing about level 4 is that it's very easy to enter and exit, but more on that in a second. Level 4 is considered one of the best places in the entire backrooms to meet up with other wanderers and to gather supplies, and it's definitely a safe spot to rest. There are several outposts here, but most notably, Meg Base Omega is here, which is the second main Meg base. This base is heavily guarded, and it's located near an exit of this level. The next outpost is called Amor Incrementum. If the name didn't give it away, this group is a cult. A cult who worships agriculture. It's one of the smallest documented groups in the backrooms, as it only has 10 members. And the plants they worship and grow aren't even plants, they're mold, so I don't know what's up with them. The last group here is called the TBD, or To Be Determined, which is a group of about 6 people who literally just hoard the resources on this level for themselves, and they're extremely hostile. They do trade, but when they trade, it's for really weird objects that don't even do anything, so they're just being weird. To enter this level, you can pick from a variety of ways, but the most common way is no clipping from the hub, or you can take an elevator from level 3. To leave level 4, all you have to do is walk through an office-style stairway. There's tons of them on the level. Or you can take an elevator, and both of those exits will put you on level 5 or 6. Easy enough. So to quickly summarize, level 4 is the home of infinite almond water, and is relatively safe to just chill at and meet new people. Yeah, that's literally it. Level 5, aka Terror Hotel, is classified as a Class 2 survival difficulty. It's unsafe and unsecure, and it has a low entity count. Now this level is pretty much an infinite hotel complex with a ton of rooms and hallways that are scattered throughout the level. The architecture of the level looks like a hotel that's similar to a hotel building from the mid-1930s, and the furniture in the level seems to be from the early 1920s. Nice. There are 3 parts of this level that are fully accessible, and those are the main hall, the Beverly rooms, and the boiler room, but more on those later. The walls all throughout this hotel are covered in decorations from the early 1900s, and there's literally like no dirt and dust at all, which is cool because old stuff tends to get dusty. The level is clean because it seems to be able to clean itself somehow. If a spot does get dirty or dusty, the level will just automatically clean the spot and it'll go back to normal. Nice. The cleanliness of the floors and the pristineness of the decorations causes this level to give off a really weird vibe. The ambient sound in this level is smooth jazz music that's quietly playing from vintage record players, and these record players are hooked up to this extremely old speaker system, and their speakers running down the hallways. And interestingly enough, this music can actually be changed. Like the record can be changed. It's unknown who changes it or how it's changed. It just does it sometimes. Level 5 is actually pretty well known for these weird noises that people hear on the level. Sometimes they hear party chatter, you know, like the ambient sounds of a party, happening on the other side of walls, or whispering noises behind them, and people have even claimed that their shoulder has been tapped when they were alone. Sounds like it's haunted to me. The level also has a ton of paintings where the characters' eyes seem to always be looking at you, which is creepy as it is, but the fact that there's so many of them, well, that makes it creepier. Now it's time to get into the 3 parts of the level, starting with the main hall. As the name suggests, this is the most common area of the level that you can explore. The walls are this retro red color with that fancy looking wallpaper all over them. and the floors range from dark wood floors to red and gold carpet floors. The hallways here have old furniture like shelving and chairs on each side of them, and on the walls in the hallways there's these old looking candle holders. Now some of the candles are real, but some of them are actually electric lamps that aren't real. There's no fire, it's just electric, and these lamps make a buzzing noise almost exactly like the buzzing noise from level 0, which is weird. The majority of the rooms in the main hall are empty and locked, but some of the rooms are unlocked, and they end up being bedrooms that are fully furnished, and you can actually rest there. Some of the doors also lock and unlock randomly, so it's not known which ones are unlocked at which times. The main hall also has a bunch of elevators that range from really old designed elevators to really new looking elevators, and you can access a ton of different levels from these elevators, so it's kind of like a miniature hub, if you will. The next part of the level is called the Beverly Rooms, or the Eternal Ballroom. This is exactly how it sounds too. It's just a huge room with a bunch of doors on all sides. There's one table in the very center of the room, and it's got some drinks on it and an unfinished game of mahjong. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I have no idea what that is. People have tried to finish this game, but they can't for some reason, and they feel like they're being forced to stay away from it. This area is the main hub of level 5, and you can access the other parts of the level from this part, because there's like 1,000 doors in this area, and they all lead to the different parts of the level. Some take you to the main hall area, and some take you to the boiler room. Speaking of the boiler room, this is the last area that's easily accessible of level 5. And it's pretty much a big cluttered area with a ton of machinery all over the place. There's these huge pipes that run across the walls and through the air, and this can make the area pretty claustrophobic actually. Almond water seems to run through these pipes, and it flows at such a high pressure that the pipes burst sometimes and leak. Nice. It's also pretty hot down there with all the machinery, and since it's literally a boiler room, I mean, you'd expect it to be hot, right? And there's steam floating throughout the area constantly. Some wanderers have actually reported whispering from inside the furnaces down here, so that's not creepy at all. Now there are some reports of a 4th area called the lobby rooms on level 5, but no one knows exactly how to get there because people who have actually been there say, quote, "You're not supposed to know," end quote, when they're asked where it is. And after just a few weeks of being in this supposed lobby room, the wanderer loses all memories of it. The only reason the accounts are even written down is because they were quickly reported right after they got sent there. So Meg is currently investigating this room and why it makes you forget its existence, because that's sus. Normal entities are not common on this level, but death moths are a pretty common creature. There's also 4 outposts here, the biggest one being Meg Base Housekeeping. This base is literally just here to study the level and to help guide people through it. You know, typical Meg stuff. The next outpost is called the Homely Hotel, and they actually run a hotel service here. They're located in the main hall area, and they even have signs that point to where they're at. They have applications that wanderers can fill out if they want to stay in the hotel rooms, and they've even got their own food service and room service. What? Nice! The next outpost is called the Originals. This outpost is a group of people that live in one of the Beverly rooms, and only people who entered the backrooms from the year 1300 to 1940 can be a part of this group. Bunch of old people, bro. They don't let anyone else join. There's about 31 people who live there, and some of them are really famous actually, like Amelia Earhart. Nice. The last group is called the Lost Hall Society. This outpost is made by an unknown species of an entity, and there's no known information about the entity at all or how many even live there. But they live in areas with libraries, and they're said to have a huge amount of knowledge about the backrooms, and specifically this level. They also design maps and books and stuff that are extremely helpful to a wanderer. Nice. To enter this level, you can go down an old stairway on level 4, or you can take an elevator from level 3. And to exit this level, you can just go back up the stairway from level 4, or re-enter the elevator from level 3, or you can exit by one of those thousands of doors in this level because they can sometimes lead to other places. So to summarize, this level is a huge retro hotel with tons of rooms and segments, and a cult of old famous people who live here, and a species of unknown entity that live here and draw maps. There's a hotel service with all the amenities of a real hotel, and there's a Meg base. You know, just your typical level. Nice. Level 6 is classified as class pending, so it's got an unknown safety, and the level is completely unsecured. There's also an unknown number of entities, or there might be no entities, because no one knows. Pretty much nothing besides the floors and the walls are even known about this level. The level is made up of a bunch of hallways with floors that are made out of bricks and walls that are made out of metal, and the entire level is 100% completely and utterly dark, and there's literally no way to make it brighter. Flashlights and fire, everything else that can make light doesn't even work here. And since it's so dark, it's unknown how big the level is. It could be infinite. We don't know. It's also impossible to see other wanderers here simply because there's no light, and no matter how open your eyes are, you literally can't see anything without light. So you could just walk right past someone and not even see them. There's been some reported sightings of smilers, but the main theory on that is that they're just hallucinations because people make things up when they're deprived of sight. I don't know. I'd see stuff too if I was completely sensory deprived. This level has been known to influence people's grasps on reality. Some people get the symptoms of paranoia and extreme derealization. Even though the level is dangerous, they still feel vulnerable and scared. Just the fact that it's so dark makes a person go crazy. Even the best explorers say that this level is one of the most dangerous ones they've explored, and a large portion of the people who go here never come out. Nice. There are no bases here, obviously, and the level can only be entered through the boiler room from level 5, which I covered in yesterday's video, link below. To exit this level, you have a small chance of just wandering deep enough into it and being sent to level 7, or you can just randomly bump into a wall and no clip out of it. And in some really rare scenarios, there's a random door that you could just walk through. So yeah, level 6 is a pitch black level where the lights don't work and you go crazy. Level 7 of the backrooms, aka level Thalassophobia, is classified as class 4 and is unsafe and unsecure and has a medium entity count. I wonder if you guys ever get tired of hearing me say that. You probably do. This level is a very difficult level to get through and is said to be a, quote, significant obstacle to the exploration of level 8 and further on. Nice. Not much is known about level 7 and not too many people have even explored it. But what is known is that the level is made up of 2 distinct areas. The first area is called the entrance area, and the second area is called the main area. Really creative names there. The main area is pretty much a huge expanse of water, similar to the ocean in real life, except this goes straight down to get to the different parts of the ocean. And there's a bunch of segments you can pass through, but we'll get onto that stuff later. This level doesn't have any fixed light sources at all, and there's no visible sun, and the only fixed light source is in the entrance area, and there's just a lingering dim light to the entire level. Some of the water in the main area of level 7 is extremely cold and has been compared to touching liquid nitrogen, which means you probably shouldn't stay in it for too long, obviously. Now I'm going to talk about the 2 different areas, starting with the entrance area. This is the only known entrance to level 7, and it's a fully furnished room with a bookcase, a coffee table, and a lone chair, and one single ceiling light. A quirk about this level and this room is that it's actually rotated horizontally, but the gravity keeps your feet on the floor somehow. It's also important to note that this entrance area and the main area have different gravitational pulls, so the gravity works different in this area than it does when you're in the water. Once you get into this entrance area, you'll start to feel like you're being pulled down to the water, which is below you. There's actually a hole in the floor that looks down at the water, and the gravity here is much stronger than on Earth, so that's going to be a shock. And this also means it's really hard to float on top of the water since you're constantly being pulled down. And the next part of the level is obviously the main area, which is seemingly an infinite stretch of ocean that goes out in all directions. And you get to this part of the level, like I said earlier, by being pulled from the entrance room down into the water. The entrance room is above the water, about 4.5 meters to be exact. So you drop down into this water when you get here. Nice. Now there are several islands in the water that are made up of an unknown rock. These are located about 2 kilometers from the entrance. They've got nothing on them except one, which we'll talk about later. But they're really isolated, and I don't know why you would stay there. The ocean part of level 7 is pretty much completely unexplored, and it's pretty empty for the first 1.2 kilometers down. And this area is called the daylight zone. Since it's the brightest area, you can actually see underwater, and you see what you're doing. But the further you go down from the entrance into the water, the more the light decreases and the more weird stuff you'll start to see. After you pass that initial 1.2 kilometers, you'll get to an area called the twilight zone. This zone's water is full of bones and scrap metal, even some full skeletons, which are pretty much humans always. These skeletons are from humans, but they have weird things wrong with them, like elongated jaws or really sharp teeth, or no eye sockets, just like really weird stuff. There are also skeletons of massive fish floating around here. These skeletons can get up to 20 meters or 65 feet long. That's really long. This point is where the water pressure starts to get stronger. It won't break your bones or anything, but you'll be able to notice it. After the twilight zone, the next zone is called the midnight zone, and this area is about 6 kilometers down from the entrance. And there's pretty much only humanoid skeletons here. Like, that's literally all there is, just a bunch of bodies floating around. It's like a big graveyard. There's also been some reports of the giant fish skeletons here too, and they've been described by wanderers as, quote, incomprehensible in size. Nice. Now there's only one more area of the ocean past the midnight zone, and it's referred to as the abyss. This area has been deemed too dangerous to explore, and the record for the longest person exploring it was 1 minute and 45 seconds. Nice. The abyss seems to have huge piles of rocks and tar that are always bubbling, and we don't know why, but it's weird. There's also a bunch of humanoid skeletons here as well, and other than that, there's not much known about what goes on down there. But there is a rumored entrance to level 8 through an underwater cave, but this isn't officially confirmed. If you know anything about the backrooms, you'll know that there's only one entity on level 7, and it's known as the Thing on level 7. It's apparently ridded the waters of any other life, and it's an extreme threat. It's unnaturally fast and strong, and it can detect things from really far away. It can sense, track, and eviscerate a victim within seconds. Nice. So if you want to explore this level, you're going to need to bring some kind of bait to throw away from your body if it starts chasing you. The full depth of level 7 isn't fully known, but it can be assumed that it goes insanely deeply, obviously. And there's actually been fragments of synthetic fiber that have been collected from the water, revealing that the floor of the level, at the bottom of the ocean, is made out of carpet. What? That's weird. Now, I did hint at a base being here earlier on one of those islands, and there's only one base, and it's called Fort Surrender, and it's located on the closest island to the entrance of the level. There's anywhere from 4 to 9 people who live here, and they live in shacks made out of random metal scraps. They apparently worship the Thing on level 7, and they don't trade, and they're hostile. Weird. To enter level 7, you have to go down the staircase from level 6, which will put you directly in the entrance room of this level. Then you'll eventually fall into the waters. There's actually a rumor floating around that you can come back to level 7 from level 8 through a puddle. I don't know why you would want to, but that's a rumor. To exit, you have to find that cave entrance underwater. It's approximately 7 kilometers down, and pretty hard to find. So to summarize, level 7 is a huge body of water that goes down extremely deep and is split up into a bunch of zones, each of which have different things floating in them, like skeletons of humans and fish. The gravity also constantly pulls you down the entire time, so if you want to stay on top, well, it's going to be really hard. Oh yeah, and there's the Thing on level 7 that will chase you down to the ends of the earth to get you, so nice. Level 8, which is classified as Class 5, unsafe, unsecure, and is infested with creatures. This level is an infinite cave system with caverns and chasms and cliffs everywhere. It's very damp, and there's almond water that runs down the walls and drips from the ceiling, and there are stalactites and stalagmites as well. The sound echoes really loudly on this level, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. Like, it can alert you that a creature is near, or it can make you more noticeable to the creatures there. And there's no natural light on this level, just there's these random spots in the cave walls that emit like a really soft bluish white light. Natural vegetation is really rare on this level, but in some spots there are vines and bushes, and sometimes there are pools of standing almond water. However, this almond water isn't safe to drink because there's an excess amount of minerals in it. There are also some pools filled with a tar-like substance that if you walk in, hands covered with tar will reach out of it and attempt to grab you and drag you to your demise. That's creepy. So for any miners watching, there are actually gold and iron ore deposits on this level, so don't forget to bring the pickaxe. The creatures here are very dangerous and are typically ones like smilers, skin stealers, wretches, facelings, hounds, death rats, clumps, reviooks, and wranglers, but there are also some more not so common creatures like camo crawlers, transporters, blossoming eyes, and watchers. And some of those creatures will be in my next Backrooms creatures video, so I won't get into their description here. Level 8 also has its own creature as well. It's called the arachnids of level 8, and these are huge spiders that are really poisonous, so that's not fun at all. There's actually an outpost here, and it's called the Meg Cave Raiders. It's got 54 members right now, and there actually used to be another town here called the town of Cavergost, or something like that. It had an unknown humanoid species that populated it, and there were 78 members. They lived deep in this remote area of the level. They had crude weapons that were made from like an unknown ore, and they weren't really welcoming to humans, but their leader was. However, this civilization just seemingly disappeared without a trace, leaving its outpost walls empty. To enter this level, just find a cave entrance on level 7, and you can exit by randomly falling through the floor to get taken to level 9. There are other exits as well, but they aren't really advised. But this one is a really scary level just because, more so its physical layout, it's just an infinite dark cave with caverns and dangerous creatures everywhere. Like, that's terrifying to me, especially since I'm not a big fan of heights. Level 9, aka the Suburbs, is classified as Class 5, unsafe, unsecure, and is infested with entities. So pretty much the level is just an infinite suburb where it's always nighttime. The houses here are all different as well in size and shape and what's inside of them, except there's one report where someone claimed that there were 2 houses next to each other that were exactly the same, which is weird. Inside the houses themselves, everything seems to be fully furnished, and it all looks pretty new. The only thing is that there's no power source to power any of the electronics or any stuff like that. There's a multitude of useful objects that can be found inside the houses though, but some of the houses are just empty. All the houses are pretty normal. Some of the houses even have full backyards with backyard stuff like balls and playhouses and grills, stuff like that. But there is one weird aspect of this level that makes it a little bit more eerie. Sometimes you'll run into two houses that have clipped inside of each other, which in reality is physically impossible, obviously. But hey, this is the backrooms and it's not impossible. The most dangerous part of level 9 is actually the streets, because that's where the entities roam. And there are tons of entities here because, well, it's infested, like I said. But there are also some foggy areas where the mangled can spawn. So watch out for that. The main entities here are death moths, smilers, skin stealers, Jerry, hounds, transporters, death rats, anithicas, and wretches. So pretty much they're some of the worst entities. And there are even some level exclusive entities here as well, like the neighborhood watch, the observer, and the mangled. The neighborhood watch entity is literally a species that looks like a giant human eye, and they're extremely aggressive. Nice. The mangled are huge 30 to 50 feet tall creatures that look like they are kind of on stilts. Their bodies look old and they have saggy skin. So, nice. And they're also really dangerous. There are no official bases or outposts here, but there are some groups who roam the infinite suburb and sporadically live in the houses. It is possible to make a base here, but there are so many entities that it's not advised. To enter level 9, the easiest way is by falling through the cave floor on level 8, but you can also crawl up a sewer gate from level 34 and end up here. There's like 30 other ways too, so it's not too hard to get here. To exit the level, you have to follow the street signs, which will take you to level 11 after about 100 miles or so. Or sometimes you can just walk off into a random field and it'll take you to level 9.1 or level 10. There are other exits that are pretty random, it seems. Like you can just walk into a random house and be sent to level 53, or you can find a playground and get into a tube slide and that'll